that's how rugby is. At the end of the day, it's a business, and they want you out on that field.
What were the practical steps you went out to? First of all, find a manufacturer, come up with a marketing plan, and get this thing rolling.
And they were like, how are we going to run this? Because, bro, to be honest with you, I had never ever done a camp before in my life. And
Wow.
to this day, bro, I've never been to a camp. I don't know how any other camps are structured. And what I did is I built my own app myself.
Yeah.
And I just went out and I just sold it.
And that was the first time I was like, man, good on Troy. Like, I can't remember if you had finished playing or still playing at the time, but I was like, good on this dude, man. He's created a business.
I've seen a lot of the boys go through it.
Yeah.
And I think it's just preparation, right? Like you need to understand that rugby's not going to be forever, and don't hold on to it.
Hey, bro, let's kick it off. Troy and Nathan, welcome to the show, man. Appreciate you jumping on.
Thank you, brother. It's a privilege to be here, mate. And bro, I haven't seen you in a while, but it'll be good to catch up and share a bit about the journey where we're at and hopefully gives value.
100%, man. So zooming in all the way from a small town in Ireland. Is that right? What's the name of your town?
Bro, I'm in a place called Leitrim. It's about 90 minutes outside of Dublin. I would have, on the positive side, about 360 days of rain. Summer comes, once a year for a week.
Yeah.
We'll take that, bro. I think, yeah.
Yeah, man. Hey, bro, how do you go with the Irish accent? Because I played sevens with a couple of Irish boys, and they were speaking English, but I couldn't understand them.
Oh, give me a couple of Guinness, mate. I could put it going off, but like, it's funny you say that now because when I first moved over here about 21 years ago.
Yeah.
My first month, bro, I couldn't understand the coaches and try and get any sort of communication across in the field area, bro. I couldn't really pick it up. But anyways, besides that, 20 years down the track, my two boys, mod-looking boys, they have really thick Irish accents. So
Wow.
it's built in me at the moment, bro. So no, I don't really have a good Irish accent, but what's the crack? How's it going?
That is so funny.
Which is good.
Yeah.
So I picked up a little bit of a slang.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. So, bro, I was looking back on your career. I played against you in Italy, but I see it starts all the way back at the amazing Kelston Boys High School, which has produced so many great players. I wanted to ask you, who was in your first 15 back in the day? Who were some of the big names?
Bro,
apart from you, of course. Apart from you.
So I'm looking up at the boys. Oh man, bro, Shona Dewaki, Musa Tuali, Sam Tuitapo, Anna Tuitawaki, and the list goes on.
Wow, yeah, that's crazy.
When we first got in there, you had Mills that come up from Southland.
Yep.
Bro, it was a stacked school.
Yeah, what a team.
And, bro, grateful because, man, like every day after school we'll play on the streets. Before school was done, all the boys go to school. Before school, you pull out a ball, play in touch. Maybe do a rugby game, hits. We'll run the streets before school. Lunchtime, back out on the field, you're playing. And then after school, you'll be back on the street. It was just bros and bread and us back at Kelston. And obviously, you had your under 15s or your first 15 that you had to make. And it was tough. So, like, you learned, bro, at school. Resilience, you had to be tough. You had to, like, know how to work hard and be in a system. But the one thing I knew about Kelston, bro, that everyone had your back. So when it was going tough, maybe the boys go a little bit lightly just to crack a joke with you or to get you through the session. But bro, born and bred in Kelston, man. That was us. We were so lucky. Well, looking back now, man, that with all the boys that went on and had an amazing journey, And one thing I love about Kelston, bro, they always any interview I've seen online, they always brought us back to their upbringing and how grateful they were at being around the environment at Kelston. So it was amazing part of my life. I was born and bred there. My house is just up down the road from the school, but I still keep in contact with the boys. And that's funny because all the stories come back. And that makes you feel young, even though we've got gray hair now. But all the good stories from school always come back, and it's pretty cool, bro. I catch up a lot of the boys on my travels. Very cool. They're around here.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I've been to Kelston Boys just to visit, and it's quite an amazing school for, if you're not from New Zealand, I think like you go into a school like Kelston. There's a few of them around New Zealand, but and you look up on the, in the administration, you look up on the sports honors board, and it's just
Yeah.
All Black after Kiwi after New Zealand Seven Star, and it's just amazing to see who's come through there, eh?
Oh, massively, bro. Yeah, straight aura, eh? Like,
Mm, for sure.
yeah, those boards, and the good thing about it is it just creates a pathway, like,
Yeah.
these kids might need to go to a private school or go to these schools that can give them that, that the opportunity to go into the higher levels.
Mm,
Whereas, like, counseling for us, we knew it was a pathway.
yeah.
There's no
Yeah.
way you're going to go to another school.
Yeah. Yeah, the other thing on that is like what you mentioned, playing touch before school, run it straights at lunchtime, back out there after school. I mean, when people look at the New Zealand rugby player and why we, for many years, led the way, I think a lot of it comes back to that, man. Just the actual time spent with a ball in hand as a teenager, playing with your mates.
Right. Yeah. Well, boy, we look at it now. It was repetition.
Yeah, yeah, reps. So,
Visualize there's something on TV or what you see the boys do something during lunchtime, go home and try and copy what they did. But it's
yeah.
I think this day and age we know that there's digital devices as an issue,
Hmm.
and but back then maybe there was no iPads or iPhones back in those days.
True that, man.
A
True
totally
that.
different mindset.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. So, bro, you go on from Kelston. I don't usually touch on the career too much, but you have an awesome career. Did you play? So you played in New Zealand, you played in Ireland, Scotland, and in Italy. Would you say you cracked over 15 years as a pro?
Yeah. First I started at 17, eh? And that was my
Wow,
first time, my first academy contract, and finished up at 35. So just a little bit over.
wow.
Um, so yeah, going through Kelston, bro, I was playing in the Auckland age grades teams. And I come to a point. I basically, when I left school, I had there's three contracts, academy contracts on the table. There was one
Yeah,
from Waikato, Auckland, and counties.
yeah,
So I gave it to my dad, bro. We're at the table, and he looked at it, and I wanted to stay at retirement. That's what I want to be. I did my age grades for Auckland,
yeah.
and he goes, "You're going to counties." I was like, "Well, Dad, why is that?" And he sort of said, like, he goes, "It's a smaller pond, but you'll be a bigger fish."
Yeah, yeah. Makes sense.
Whereas, like, Auckland, man, it was a big pond. I would have been a smaller fish. So, um, and so I signed for counties. I'd moved out there the year after. But after I'd signed, counties had lost the relegation, and they went from first division to second division, and I
Oh,
couldn't
no
get out of it.
way.
So I'd moved out there, but bro, it all worked out in the positive, bro, because I went out there, I played club footy. Um, I had to stay loyal to counties, and they sort of stayed loyal to me. I had a number of games, and I did go through the pathway there. So I did
Hmm.
3 years. Within the 3 years there, I ended up playing a year and 2 years in second division,
Yeah,
and then went up to NPC, the first division. So it was a sort of like a roundabout sort of
yeah,
pathway where I
yeah.
wanted to go. But over that time, bro, it was awesome. I wouldn't take anything back.
Crazy, man. I forgot the good old second division days, eh? You had the counties coming up and
Yeah,
down, Bay of Plenty coming up and down back in those
yeah.
days, eh? So fast forward all the way to your last game of professional rugby. Tell me about your last game. Did you know it was gonna be your last, and were you prepared for what's next?
Um, bro, yeah. So before that, I did my knee
Yeah.
at club footy, and I signed a new contract for a club in Italy for 2 years. That first season, bro, it was 2 months into the season. I did my ACL.
Oh, bugger.
It's
Yeah.
just like, bro, it took ages to get back. And in Italy as well, rather than having like a 9 to 10 month process, they try to rush it to three.
Really?
And they want you back out on that field. So, but in saying that as well, the club was so supportive. Looking back
Mm,
now, I went
mm,
through the process. It took me about 6 or 7 months to actually be on my feet properly.
hmm.
And grateful enough that they didn't put any pressure when I was recovered to play the rest of the season because we were safe. Like, but I played the second year at that club, but I just never got back to where I wanted to be.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I was always in pain, but you try to play that resilience to get through it, but
Mm.
never got back to square one. From
And you're
that point there,
35?
I sort of knew.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was 34 at the time, so I
34.
sort of
Yeah.
knew. No, that was my last time, or the
Wow.
last sort of few games that I played. So my last game, bro, I was sort of I was looking forward to it. Like I'd
Yeah.
start up a few businesses 2 years prior to that. So I knew that would help my transition from professional rugby into,
Hmm.
the real life world. So to look back at it, I was happy to get off the field, man, because I
Yeah.
loved football. Great.
Yeah.
But yeah, over that time, I was emotional, but I was more so excited
Yeah.
that I didn't
Interesting.
have to, graft it and get into those trainings and get through the week and obviously prep for game day and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, that's awesome. I have a funny story from Italy where I went up for a kickoff and landed on top of someone, and all of a sudden I couldn't breathe, and I just had this awful rib, right? So I couldn't finish that game. Went and got an X-ray and everything. They're like, "Tutto posto, bro. You are fine. It's okay. It's okay." You remember the accent, eh? And
Va bene.
and luckily we didn't have a game for about a month. It was one of those moments in the long season. So a month later, they inject my rib and I go out and play. And I never thought too much of it until I got back to New Zealand. And the physio's doing my check before I signed the contract. And he's like, "What happened here? When did you break your rib?" And I was like, "Huh? I never, I never broke my rib." And he's like, "It's healed on top of each other. Do you know what I mean? It's not healed like that."
Jesus.
He's like, "Feel it," and I can feel it. I'm like, "Oh yeah." So but he did say things like that can get missed. But I don't know. I think maybe my Italian mates were like, "Get him back out
Could
there."
have been that spritz you're having that just sort of like took over the pain, eh?
Crazy man,
Oh
crazy.
yeah.
But
But
yeah,
that's what it's like, that those that's really, I know for a fact, but is that that's like a business, man. Like
it
they,
is a
they want you
business.
playing, especially if you're a foreigner,
Yeah, yeah.
Then they'll just jab you on painkillers. You might
Hmm.
miss a week's training, but they'll try to get you on that field to play.
Yeah, 100%. I suppose it's the same in most of the international leagues, like in France and Japan. There is a weight of being a foreigner, eh? They're probably paying you the most money, so there's the most weight on your shoulders to be out there and perform. And that just means when you're injured, there's even more pressure, eh, to get back in time.
Yeah, massively. Then you have fans.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have people that are, spending money to go to stadiums.
Yeah.
They want to see you playing because,
Yeah.
but that's how rugby is. At the end of the day, it's a business. They
Yeah.
want you out on that field. But that's part of the experience of being a professional rugby player.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Bro, so you're one of the few that gets to kind of retire on your own terms in a way. Like I know the knee kind of caused you to think about it earlier than you wanted to, but you get to go, cool, that's my last game. You mentioned you started a couple of businesses 2 years prior. Where does this
Yeah.
entrepreneur spirit come from, bro? Did you always have it or did you pick it up throughout your career?
Right. So to take it right back, my grandfather, he's Irish, and
Whoa.
it was a mission for him to get to New Zealand.
Yeah.
And when he got to New Zealand, my mum was 5 at the time. He was still like he had a couple of businesses and he was an entrepreneur. So throughout my upbringing, him and my dad were my closest pals, right? And he was sort of like he embedded like a lot of stuff into me. You're gonna go to Red Island, you're gonna play rugby, you're
Wow.
gonna marry an Irish, and yet there. So like when I was a young age, bro, I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. So I had a
Wow.
clear pathway.
Yeah.
But over that time when I was growing up, I would go to work with him, and I was like, so he was he had a business of, like he'll be like a floor renderer, so like floor in a vinyl or carpet like gets
Yeah.
laid.
Yeah.
He lays down this perfect floor. No one else could do it, just him.
Yeah.
Right. So like he sort of like drilled me, bro, at a young age,
Yeah.
how to deal with money, business, talking with customers, how to be hard. So like I had that in my mind.
Yeah.
Um, when I was playing rugby, bro, I actually honestly thought I was so naive that I was never going to work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
honestly thought about it until like when I was at Glasgow, I was like, shit, man, I'm only like 2 or 3 years left, and that's me
Yeah.
done. So I sort of like I always had ideas that I wanted to do. I think
Mm.
that's the difference between someone having a business and
Mm-hmm.
people that don't. The people
Mm.
that don't, they have the amazing ideas, but like they just don't really know the structure or probably have that risk management to go do it or not. So
Yeah.
it was funny before I was playing in Glasgow at the time, and I sort of got released from a contract in March, and I was going to finish then,
Wow.
and I knew then in March I was like, no, no, okay, I'll start something up.
Wow.
So basically, over that time, my agent gave me a call. I was in Lanzarote for we had a week off, And he goes, "Look, mate, do you want to go to Italy?" This is
Yep.
before I just got released. I was like, "Wow, I don't know, man. I was genuinely like drained of it."
Yeah.
And my plan was at the time was to go back to New Zealand. And he goes, "Look, do you want to go to Italy? Just play out, the second half of the season, which is 6 months,
Yep.
sorry, 4 months, and then just assess, get a
Yeah.
different lifestyle, good weather, you
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
relax,
Yeah.
So I got back from my holiday and I took the first flight back down to Italy. I went to Moniano and I checked it all out and I was like there for like 2 days just to meet the club, have a look. Bro, within 2 hours, I sat down on the table having lunch with him. The president pulls out a contract. I'm not even expecting it.
Wow.
Glass of wine, fee, contract. And Adrian's like, "What's going on here?" And the coach at the time, he looks at me, goes, whack the side. I was just like, "Man."
Wow.
So I'm like, dude, I couldn't call the missus. So I was
No.
like, "You know what, man? I'm going to give it a go." So I signed it. And then I stayed in Italy and ended up staying in Italy for another like 6 years after that.
Yeah.
But going back to my point was that when I was at Glasgow, when I was going to finish up, I was ready for it. I was ready to start a few businesses. So over that time in Italy, uh, I had a terrible back in Glasgow. I was like, I got into a few. I've seen a few like recovery objects. Like the foam rollers.
Mm,
You
mm.
have what do you call it? Like the pressure balls, the
Yep.
stretchy bands. I seen them like individually,
Yep.
but what I did, bro, is that I created a pack. So you
Yeah.
get the foam roller, stretch ball, you get a foot massage ball, and a stretch band.
Yep.
Perfect for like rehab
Yep.
uh, or prehab 4 sessions. So what I've done, bro, is that I got a pack, designed that, made sure the manufacturer was sweet in China.
Mm-hmm.
And what I did is I built my own app myself,
Yep.
and I just went out and I just sold it. So I
Wow.
learned about how to market. Obviously, there's a lot of errors that I made and
Yeah.
a lot of lessons learned. But that was probably my biggest project that I did. And
Wow.
at that time, bro, there was no pack, and because I had used my rugby connections with all the boys, so I had my market influencers.
Mm.
That's what helped grow the
Yeah.
brand. So I went along through that journey for like 2 or 3 years, just selling
Yeah.
this pack around. So going to so I sold mostly to rugby players,
Yep.
clubs, and we worked with a lot of massive teams, but we were the supplier of them.
Mm-hmm.
The Blues were on board as well. They
Yep.
bought a pack for all their boys. Got my brother rally done to their trainings and did mobility classes. So that was like
Yep.
my first adventure where I learned a lot about business.
100%, bro. And I remember being at North Harbour a couple years after we would have played against each other in Italy, and it must have been your brother that came in and did a session with us with the Troy
Possibly,
Prehab
yeah,
kit,
yeah,
and that was the first time I was like, man, good on Troy. Like, I can't remember if you had finished playing or still playing at the time, but I was like, good on this dude, man. He's created a business, and it's a product too. So I suppose so that was your first business, right? Troy Prehab.
yeah. That was the first one. Yeah,
So you go from never working in business before, being a professional rugby player. What were kind of the practical steps? Like if someone's listening to this and they've got an idea, what were the practical steps you went out to? First of all, find a manufacturer, come up with a marketing plan, and get this thing rolling.
yeah. But so I knew like yeah, when you have a business, if you have a product, like you got a product, but that's okay.
Mm,
But you need to serve a purpose. So the purpose I knew for myself because I was getting injured quite a bit, and I knew, okay, the roller, the band, the trigger point ball, that was fixing me. So I knew
mm,
that would work. Okay, so yeah, I was driven to get it out there, to share my story because I think that's the most important thing when you have a business as well. You need to have a story behind it. So
mm.
Troy Prehab is sort of built around my story, even though I was a no one back then. But like when you start in a business, you need to like find out where the product is, and for me, it was my first time trying to get into China, and like
Whoa.
yeah, you go to Alibaba these days and you spend hours and trying to find the right person to find that perfect product.
Mm,
But then you then look into like what is the production time, what is the delivery time, what's what's the minimum order. So for me, it was all new back then,
yeah.
but it was always a massive learning, which I'll take away.
Whoa.
For a point where today where I'm dealing with a lot of manufacturers in China. But I think for someone that's listening out there, even when you're playing, um, if they want to think of a side hustle, that you just need to go out there and give it a go. Um,
Whoa.
You need to find out, and you need to get like a real good, trustable manufacturer
Hmm.
that that you're gonna make a transaction, they're not gonna take your money. That's the
Yeah.
most important thing because I've seen a
Yeah.
lot of times. But just simple things like making sure you get good samples.
Yeah.
Talk to a few manufacturers, get a few samples. You got to get on video calls with them. I feel that like a lot of them don't
Mm.
want to do that, but you need to get on the video call, and show them your vision because they need to believe your product and your journey. So if
Mm.
once they have that in you,
Yeah.
you will get them.
Wow.
So that comes with it. You need to have it, obviously, marketing. I was all new to that, man. Like it was just, how do I sell it now?
Yeah.
So you need to have like a good plan on how you want to market. Everyone is on their devices these days, so you have to be digital heavy.
Yeah.
So you have to take up all the social media,
Yeah.
find out information online. You go on YouTube or
Hmm.
be online and find out how the best way is to market the product. AI
Yeah.
these days, oh sure. Back then there was no AI.
Yeah. Back then, no AI,
Um,
mate. You couldn't chat
no, not
GPT your
also.
marketing
Like
skills.
that. I even did my website, bro.
Wow.
Which took me bloody 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Whereas you
Yeah.
can do a website now in 10 minutes.
Yeah. Wild, man. So just for those listening, your first initial kind of steps were you actually literally reached out to manufacturers in China, you emailed them, WhatsApped them, jumped on video calls, got a few samples, went from there.
Yeah, that was a process. And then once you have the product, you got to fall in love with it. And
Yeah.
once you fall in love with it, sell it, right? And then but there's different strategies, man, that you can do. Back then, I knew it would work because I had the influencers, which are all the boys. So I'll give them a call, bro. What
Yeah.
are you up to? Got this pack, got this journey. Support
Yeah.
and help me out. A lot of the
Yeah.
boys do that. Like a lot of the people that are into business, I think they're a little bit shy, reaching out. But you just got to get out there and you have to be a salesman. You go out there to
Mm.
sell. Oh, sorry, ask people for, to help influence your product and get out there because when you have that influencer that gets it out there, that's when you start. You have these people that want to be that person or that rugby player.
Yeah.
And like for me back then, it was all about prehab. So I was big on making sure you arrive at the training or gym, 30 minutes before. That is your pack.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when they bought that pack, I think I had an app that was just really budget, um, standard application, but like everyone's on their phone,
Mm.
working away, getting instructions. So that was, yeah, that was the journey at the start of Troy Prehab.
Bro, it's really clever, man. It's really clever. And also using your micro influencers, I think it's almost like a little bit ahead of your time, These days, that's a well-known fact. But
Yeah.
you really called on your network, which is something awesome for any athlete out there just to remember, is that we have a network that we can call upon. And you're right, bro. I reckon 98% of people you played with or against would help you out.
You think so, but like, you ask a question, what is the worst case scenario? No,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
But like, a lot of influencers out there that they like free product, so like,
Mm.
bro, you got this pack here, you want to try it out? If you do me a couple of videos, so,
Mm. True.
where I did that, I designed a board production company called Bro, which is like the ball you pass up against the wall and it
Oh, I
rebounds
saw that.
back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the same thing,
Yeah.
like the reason why it got to so big and sold so many balls is because all the boys that were helping me out.
Yeah.
So all the boys that are out there that will be willing to help you out,
Oh,
without a
huge.
doubt.
Huge, man. So you've done a couple of product businesses, and that leads you to doing your service-based business, I suppose, and Haka Rugby Global. Bro, tell me about where this idea came from, and then the first days of Haka Rugby.
Right, it was back in 2016. Was the last year, and it was rugby camps were like a fad at the time. A lot of the rugby players were doing these camps, So it was my bro Regan back in the day. Were like, should we give it a go? Yeah, sweet. We'll just organize a camp in Italy. And then we're like, how are we going to run this? Because, bro, to be honest with you, I had never ever done a camp before in my life, and
Wow.
to this day, bro, I've never been to a camp. I don't know how any other camps are structured.
Yeah.
So it was all through lessons and learnings, right? So back in 2016, we did 2 camps, but was like, what is the purpose here? We're like, what is the point of difference? So we knew straight away that through our own identity, we can
Mm.
use the modern culture,
Mm.
and that's what people need out there, right? They need to find not just a rugby camp, but like they need to find place or an event where they can find get a belonging.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
2016, bro, we did 2 camps. The numbers were massive. There were like 80 kids at each camp.
Wow.
And then the year after that, I retired. So what we've done, bro, is like same thing. Got a hold of our rugby contacts, bro. We've got this new idea. Would your club be interested in hosting a camp? And that second year, bro, we'd done 17 camps. And the year after that, we did
Holy.
30, and we just grew and grew. Yeah, so like the camps were like we got a real strong vision, bro. It's utilize modern culture and rugby as a tool to
Mm-hmm.
create future leaders. So
Mm.
through our camps, we're not building rugby players. We want to build our future leaders.
Mm.
And so all our coaching sections is built around that. All our connections is making sure that when we coach the kid, okay, it's not necessarily that. We want to
Mm.
find who's that person behind the jersey first. So
Whoa.
when a kid feels that, bro, they first of all they have a sense of belonging. They
Yeah.
feel part of it, so
Yeah.
they get to express themselves. So right here we are. Yeah, 2026. We'll end up doing 100 camps this year in 26 countries.
Whoa, dude, that's wild. And when we were teeing up this podcast, right, you said, "Oh, I was supposed to go to Dubai, but I'm not sure now." So you're pretty much
Yeah,
global, right?
bro, we're global now. And bro, I'm thankful for all the connections that were made, bro. Like
Mm.
it's first of all, for us to get to a country, we need someone to believe in our kaupapa and understand who we are as
Mm.
people. So even enter into their club. So like this is our 11th year now.
Wow.
So we've been around, we've done good mahi. People believe in our service and what we're about.
Yep.
And like the people that only experience the camps only know what that truly means.
Mm. Mm.
But for us, bro, like we've got 30 to 34 coaches that are involved in our with Haka Rugby Global.
Yep.
Grateful for them because they put on the amazing mahi. They have
Yeah.
a philosophy in place that drives them each day to go to camps and do amazing work. So
Yeah.
without them, bro, we wouldn't be who we are.
Yeah. Huge, man. Hey, do you have a business diploma or a business degree? Or you're just literally learning on the go?
But qualified, brother, qualified. No, I did. But it's funny when I first moved out to Ireland when I was 23. Um, right, my schooling was good, but it wasn't great.
Okay.
I didn't go to uni because I pursued
Yeah.
playing rugby.
Yeah.
So I did my Christian certificate. So I thought I was going to work in a gym at the time.
Yeah.
But when I went to Ireland, bro, this was like you need to get your ass into uni. So
Mm.
I did 2 years of business, but like did I learn much? I did learn a lot, but
Mm.
you're only going to learn business once you're in it, and you need to
Yeah.
make mistakes because those are your biggest learnings.
Yeah. Bro, huge. I can't believe you went from 2 camps to 17. That's amazing, man. What growth in,
Yeah,
in
it
year
was
one.
just yeah. I think you need to make those big steps. Like, bro, honestly, throughout my journey, I've had a lot of the boys give me a call because they want to start camps, and I
Mm.
share them all this
Yeah. Yeah.
so
What work?
transparent with them just to get them off the ground and go, bro, go do this.
Yeah.
So like with the camp business, bro, you're not going to make massive money doing, you know,
Mm.
2 or 3 camps. So you need to like make sure that if you're going to do a good job, make sure you do it well, and
Mm.
do 10, do 15 if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
And like it's really achievable to do. Yeah,
Mm.
I've got a bro in Brisbane doing SAS rugby. He's doing camps there.
Well,
And I spoke to him and he was like, look, I have 3 or 4. I was like, bro, don't worry about 3 or 4, man. Your product is unbelievable.
well,
We'll do Australia. He's
yeah.
doing loads in Australia at the moment. So
Yeah.
yeah, so how our growth, yeah, over time it built. But
Yeah.
yeah, the initial stages, I'm glad that we went from.
Yeah. And you, again, just like practically, that's just you reaching out, emailing, calling clubs, and just putting yourself out there, right?
Yeah. Right, for the first few years, man, you have to get out there. You have to
Yeah.
get into your uncomfortable position. You need to
Yeah.
reach out, show good money in your business,
Yeah.
and what it's about. And then, like for us at the moment, like we knew that it was good products and it served the purpose. So the first, 3 or 4 years, we worked really hard on that in terms of setting it up. After that, we had a lot of clubs just reaching out to us. We over that
Wow.
stage as well, bro. We went from the first, I think it was a couple of years, bro, from 10,000 followers on Instagram,
Yeah.
and we've got up to over 300.
Yeah. Yeah.
People just they love what we're doing.
Yeah.
So I think from one, people seeing our camps and how it was operated, to two, seeing the camps how it was operated online through Instagram,
Mm.
and they obviously seen value. People seen value on our following.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a good following. People believed in us. So at the moment, bro, like we we have camps coming up to our club last, you know,
Wow. Yeah.
to help do camps and also host camps at their clubs.
Yeah.
But for us, bro, we just don't want to come into a club and run a camp. For us, it's
Yeah.
about making sure that we can help clubs with their retention. That's the biggest
Yeah.
struggle at the moment,
Yeah.
is bringing more people into the game in the area, but also by having camps at the clubs once a year, and maybe add a different sort of value in their rugby.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in the long run, it's going to benefit the clubs.
Mm. Bro, it's huge, and I think just that spin you've put on it, opening up your culture, the Māori culture, the tikanga, sharing that, I think is a massive part of it. And I love how you said it's not just about coaching rugby, you're trying to help these kids and players find their identity and their belonging.
Or yeah, 100%. Like our camps, bro. We would do when we first arrived, we do because it's our camp. We're tangata whenua.
Mm.
Okay, so we need to do it properly. So we do a pool footy for the kids
Wow,
on the
cool.
first morning. They're the manihiri. Obviously, we go through our protocols,
Hmm.
which we do back home, and on the last day, the kids do a purupurake for the parents, and that's probably the most empowering thing.
Wow.
And throughout the course of that, we have our own haka specifically designed for the kids that participate at our camps, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
about the kid.
yeah.
It's about why they're there, bringing people together. It's about
Wow.
them talking on their ancestors. So and obviously throughout the pool footy, we hongi the kids as well.
Hmm.
And then from that moment, bro, they get a real sense of belonging. They feel part of the
Whoa.
group.
Yeah.
So we only have these kids for 3 days. So rather than trying to break a barrier for 3 days, most of the time we have them within 10 minutes.
Whoa,
So when
bro.
we're teaching them the haka, for example, everyone's in line together,
Yeah.
everyone's singing together, everyone's expressing themselves together. So when we transfer that onto a rugby field as a coach,
Mm.
it's easy. You have them straight off the bat.
Oh, bro, that's so cool, man. Honestly,
Yeah, but
it's a
bro, I'm proud to be Māori, bro, because Māori comes, our background has a lot of respect
yeah,
and
yeah,
courage in anything we do. So when we're transferring haka, for example, they get empowered.
yeah.
We're installing values naturally through haka.
Mm.
So the beauty about that, bro, is just make sure that these kids are having the best 3 days. They get empowered and they walk out of that camp, big chest. It's their
100%,
pathway
man.
into life.
It's a superpower, man. It's a superpower. I'm not Māori myself, but I've been fortunate enough to do different hakas at different
Bring it.
events,
Yeah.
weddings, and obviously footy and stuff like that. And it's hard to describe, eh? If you haven't experienced that in your life, it's hard to describe to others what kind of power's in that, eh?
Yeah, but you need to hear that, bro. And we're grateful to be able to share our experiences through the haka.
Yeah,
All the
yeah,
boys, all the poly boys that are in our coaching group, they've been brought up under Māori values and Te Reo Māori. So
yeah,
when you tell the kids, you learn this haka, or when you do it, um, it, it it looks amazing. But when you do it with each other, it's like time without the auras in there.
yeah.
And bro, the kids have the most amazing experience. And bro, like these are a couple of stories that I love hearing, bro. And one that really sits on me is that we so at our camps, bro, is that obviously it's global.
Hmm.
We have our own handshake,
Cool.
and the one of the connection is that if you see anyone that you're playing against or around the world that you recognize their face or they have the same shirt, you must give them a handshake. And if
Whoa,
the family environment, you sing two to the one together, and if you want, you can do the haka because it's your guys' haka. There's a kid
whoa.
from Belgium, bro, that was in Tokyo, and they're in a restaurant, and one of the Japanese kids, but they both wore their shirts into the restaurant. So we mean like you have to go up. So man, there was these two kids obviously connected with eye contact. They couldn't speak English, bro.
Yeah, yeah.
The kid from Belgium went up, obviously got his Google Translate, had French into Japanese. They
Yeah.
were transferring like obviously a conversation.
Yeah.
Bro, they both sung two set of mics together and they called the
Wow.
Haka. Bro, it was, and that, like from that point there, we're serving a purpose, you know. And
100%.
but that's probably one of the coolest stories I've heard throughout 11 years.
100%, man. Oh, bro, that's honestly inspirational. And like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, I think about even whatever these young players go on to do. Some of them might pursue rugby, but some of them might pursue other things in life, you know. But that's an experience and a life lesson they'll have forever, you know, about belonging and about identity. So it's a beautiful
Bro,
thing, brother.
yeah, and like I suppose the cool thing about it, bro, is that they understand New Zealand more, you know, and
True.
it's probably a scary thing for the parents, but like a lot of the kids have moved to New Zealand. They're just
Oh
like,
well.
yo, yeah, I've got a belonging here. I understand a bit more about the kaupapa in New Zealand,
Hmm.
and a lot of them now are doing schooling in New Zealand just through
Yeah.
the pathway of 3 days at a camp,
Yeah.
which is amazing as well. You know, like we always say, New Zealand's your home, and in Aotearoa, we
Mm.
welcome anyone. You know.
Mate, I wonder if we'll see more, you know, foreign-born All Blacks, eh? Because we've got a
Yeah,
couple at the
could be.
moment. Fabian
Yeah.
Holland and I mean Anton Segner playing for the Blues. So I wonder if, you know, we'll see more in the future. Thanks to Haka Rugby Global,
Sweet.
mate. Hey, Troy, question for you, man. A lot of athletes, not just footy players, but a lot of athletes would say that they struggle mentally in that first, you know, step or pivot from their sport into the real world as such. Did you struggle mentally, or do you feel like these businesses were such a distraction that filled the void right away?
No, no, I was ready for it, but you know, you have the sort of struggles because you miss it, right? But
Mm,
you know, I think you know when you're a player, you're externally driven. You know, you have your coach, you have you know your contracts, and you have your scheduling. Whereas I think you need to have that automatic shift from athlete to operator.
mm,
And I think when you have that mindset of an operator, you know straight away that you need a vision in place, you need to be disciplined, and you have to be accountable for anything you do.
mm,
So like I speak to a lot of the boys that are going through that process, and it's
hmm.
they find it quite hard to understand, but they when they start they carry through their rugby experiences, then they can sort of break it down. So like in terms of struggles, bro, I've seen a lot of the boys go through it,
Yeah,
and I think
yeah.
it's just preparation, right? Like you need to understand that rugby's not going to be forever,
Hmm.
and don't hold on to it.
Mm, mm,
And I think the biggest thing as well is that, bro, as rugby players, if you're just playing rugby full time, even though it's a tough sport, bro, and it's hard training every day, but if you're doing nothing else,
yeah,
you're lazy. You know, you need to find something. Maybe it's a hobby or a side hustle. You need to
yeah,
find that side hustle.
yeah.
And when people understand about the side hustle, it could be selling a product or doing editing online, trying to get experience or making money.
Mm,
But when you have that side hustle, it actually benefits your rugby because you're not thinking 24/7.
true. It's a break.
Um, and bro, we all know is that how much time do we have off when we're playing rugby?
Yeah.
You know, and I sort of learned my lesson. That clicked when I was in Glasgow, bro. We'll finish training at 3 o'clock in the afternoon,
Mm,
bro. All the boys are out the door. It's racing home, headsets on, playing Call of Duty, and there's 20 of us playing game with each other. And
wow.
we're wasting like 6 to 8 hours a day, man, doing
Yeah,
nothing,
yeah,
right? Just having
yeah.
fun. I know the culture was there, unbelievable culture of the boys, but like, yeah, you need to have that mindset shift, and yeah, you need to go from an athlete, and then
Mm,
slowly get into as the operator.
mm. Because one of the really cool things I've seen with Haka Rugby Global is you are employing, or you have a lot of ex-footy players working with you, eh? And
Yeah.
so you kind of answered it a little bit already, but if you were giving advice to a young player who wanted to kind of build a side hustle or start a side hustle or at least get that ball moving, what would your advice be to them?
Well, the thing is, like these days you have AI, right?
Mm,
Whereas back
true.
then we didn't have anything like that. So you just need to like find something that you love, you
Hmm.
know, and then you just got to go for it, man. Like, and I've spoken to so many people about these amazing ideas, but they just haven't had the balls to go do it.
Yeah, yeah.
So you need to take that next step forward. It's either going to take time, a lot of time, which you have to sacrifice,
Hmm.
or maybe a small investment if you have that investment.
Mm. Yeah.
And then you need to sort of like grasp around what does marketing look like, what does taxes look like, what does the
Mm-hmm.
numbers look like, in terms of when you have a staff or coaches underneath you, you need to learn what is, connection within the group.
Mm-hmm.
How do you respect the group? Like so a lot of team building or how to build a culture
Yeah.
evolves, So,
Yeah.
but I reckon anyone can start anything these days. It's
It's
just gotta,
wild.
you just gotta get up and do it.
It's actually wild. I was interviewing a ex-basketball player that went into recruitment the other day. And as I was preparing for the interview, I used AI to learn a bit more about recruitment, just so I understood his world. And bro, I swear to God, I wouldn't be good, but I feel like I could go and start a recruitment business. Like that's how much
Right. Yeah.
information is there, how it works, how they get paid, how they do their contracts, all this stuff. Is like, oh my gosh, that's at our fingertips, eh? It's wild.
Yeah, but 100%. You don't have to be in it, like
Mm,
take everything away from it, but I think you need to utilize it.
hmm.
So like, bro, the last like 12 months, we've started this other business called Footy Nippers.
Yeah.
It's not a plug by the way, but it's basically it's an early childhood program from 18 months to 7 years old. So
Well,
it was a vision that I've always wanted to do for the last like 3 years because at our camps is from 8 years old up to 16, and
gotcha.
I've seen like a massive difference with 8-year-olds with their motor skills, their social skills. So I dive deep in terms of like how do we fix this.
Mm,
So cut a long story short, it's a franchise model, right?
hmm.
So it's not just a normal business. The
Yeah.
franchise model has to be the systemization has to be on point.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're not just dealing with a consumer.
Yeah.
You have like so many users. It could be coaches, franchisees, etc., etc.
Yeah. Yeah.
But with AI at the moment, you can utilize that, so you can get any sort of help. So go back to your question before, is that
Mm,
or anyone can start anything. You just got to
yeah.
drop it on there, learn how to use it, prompt it well, and then it'll give you all the tools. And
100%.
as us as rugby players or sports people, just because we've had that experience of working as a group, coping under pressure,
Yeah.
making sure your time management's right, having that real high performance mindset,
Yeah.
bro, your world's your oyster and far away and do it.
That's so true. Yeah, interesting. Like for those listening, the franchise model. So you'd be building systems and processes that could be rinsed and repeated across every franchise. Anyone who bought into a franchise knew exactly how to get started. This is how we run things at
Yeah.
Footy Nippers. AI could do that for you now, eh? You could probably be like, these are
Well,
my standard
yeah,
operating procedures.
it would help you build it, but I think the most important thing you need to I use that example because you can utilize AI to
Mm,
help you structure everything.
mm-hmm.
Whereas 5 years ago, it would take you a year and a half to build. It'll cost
Yeah.
you probably a $500,000 to build up in terms of your development and your your systems that you use.
Yeah.
Whereas like AI now, it really tightens things up. But the most important thing, it saves your time.
Yeah,
You know,
man. Yeah. Hard out. Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I've had a few people, friends and whatnot, worried about AI stealing their job, right? That's a little theme going around at the moment. AI is going to take this job and AI is going to take that job. I don't think so. I think people who understand AI and work with it and use it and save themselves time and become more and more efficient are going to get the jobs, you know, because they
exactly.
they know they know
Yeah.
how to use it and utilize it. So that's a really good point, man. Bro, I was going to ask you about Footy Nippers. What's next for Haka Rugby Global? What's next for Footy Nippers? Um, what's what's your vision around the
Um,
corner?
Bro, for Haka Global, bro, we just want to continue on being better as a company. Delivering good sessions. This year we'll be doing 100. I'll be honest with you, I don't think we'll do any more than that because we don't want to sort of like flood it out.
Mm, mm,
But I think we're in a good position. Like I said earlier, we hold ourselves accountable for what we do. And
hmm.
we want to make sure that we do good mahi. Just keep building good relationships.
Yeah,
And yeah, like I said, we're very grateful for by all the volunteers out there around the world who are involved with rugby because without the volunteers, bro, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing. It's,
true.
what I mean by that is having people in place at the club that respect that bring us in to host the camp.
Hmm.
So that's Haka Global, and with Footy Nippers, bro, it's a new space that we're entering at the moment. Obviously we're working with kids from 18
Hmm.
18 months to 7 years.
Hmm.
But I think the beauty about that is hopefully it might be a retention engine for Haka Rugby Global. So the kids will go through a process of, 18 months, 7 years, and then, flow into what they want to.
Yeah, yeah. Exciting, man. And your vision for that is that it would be franchised around the world?
Yeah, we'll be a franchise model. So basically we'll build a curriculum around multi storytelling.
Whoa,
So
cool.
yeah, it's the curriculum's around multi storytelling and movement. So um, it's a model where so basically the deep down process is I love sharing my journey about business, but I want to get people to start up in business. I think that'd be a real good thing if I've seen boys or people just start their own businesses. So this is for, ex-athletes, if they're out there listening, ex-athletes that are going through the transition phase or that want to get into something, that they feel part of, being in that rugby space and wanting to give back. Because you think about, like, with rugby, bro, after rugby, you can get into coaching, okay, or you get into punditry,
Yeah.
and that's like a tip of an iceberg where there's not really many opportunities.
Yep.
Whereas for us, we believe with Footy Nippers, to be still in love with the game and to give back, that could be a good opportunity for them. So, yeah,
Bro,
it's
I love
a new
that.
journey, man. It's 12 months into it right now. We have 4 franchises set up at the moment. So Auckland, we got Auckland, Sydney, Dublin, and in Scotland. And then at the moment we're working on onboarding another 4 or 5. So classes will start up in April, and then obviously continue on to from May onwards.
Bro, I love the plug. I love the plug, man. I think I hadn't actually thought of it like 100%. If you're finishing up a footy career, and you don't necessarily need to be a footy player, of course, but this would be a
Nah, not
perfect
at all.
fit, right? You're finishing up a footy career, you got a bit of money in the bank, but you don't know what to do next. You don't know how to replace your income, right? This is right up your alley in my mind. As long as you feel comfortable and keen to work with kids and get involved, I think it's a perfect model, bro. So
Yeah, especially like when you're if you want to start a business, it sort of with Footy Nippers, it takes away all the sort of like want to
true.
manufacture your marketing, etc. So what we're doing, bro, is we've built up a system where every franchisee will go through a 8-week onboarding service,
Yeah,
right?
cool.
So that goes from starting a business, working your taxes, your numbers,
Yeah,
and then week 2 will be your curriculum, coaching, finding venues, etc. So the whole like 8-week onboarding where basically we're doing everything for the franchisee. And obviously the marketing stuff we take care of
yeah,
at the
yeah,
HQ of Foot Nippers, and all the franchisees have to do is just make sure to deliver an amazing
yeah,
session
yeah,
and
100%.
culture work, build a good culture and community within your franchise.
100%. That is the security of a franchise, that you've got that support. Where starting your own business, you're all out on your own, unknowns.
Basically, I was bro, it was about 6 months ago, man. I was like, okay, like how is the outlook of franchise? Like, what do
Mm,
people think?
mm.
And I looked online, bro. I was like, this, that, all negative stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And like, I sort of like took a backward step, bro. This is before we even sort of like went online and did a domain. I sorry, went online and did a website.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, is this the right thing to do? But
Mm.
from there, I knew that were the things that we weren't going to do. So
Gotcha.
making sure when franchisees come on board, they're heavily locked into in terms of HQ. So Jimmy Farquhar, the other co-founder, he's based in New Zealand.
Yeah,
He's a serial, like, he's mad into his tech.
cool.
So making sure that the systemization is there's so much clarity for the franchisees, the coaches, anyone that comes on board.
Cool, man. Bro, it's an interesting yarn. I'll let you go in a second. I just got one more question. I've got
Yeah.
2 daughters, bro. I got Mila and Maya. Mila's like the sweetheart. She's the princess. She's into dancing. She's into Elsa, singing, all of that. Maya's like, if there was an athlete in the family, it's gonna be Maya. She's like jumping off the couch, rolling on the floor. She's not quite 18 months, but she's almost there. What does a Footy Nippers session look like for someone like Maya?
For my shirt, so basically she'll get immersed into a session for 45 minutes.
Yeah,
Okay, so it's all based around storytelling. So the Māori storytelling, it's about the Māori gods,
yeah,
so Tane Mahura, Tangaroa. So basically You'll have the story in place, okay, and then you'll have the character. Okay, so the
Cool.
character could be Haka Rugby.
Yeah, yeah.
He's the god of the forest. And then after the character, okay, you'll have the story or the movement that'll come with it. So it could be anywhere between in the forest, for example. So throughout there, straight away, rather than teaching your little Maya a drill, that should introduce you or immerse yourself into a story.
Mm-hmm.
So which is in that story, automatically she'll learn values. So respect in the forest, courage, working together. So everything is based around
Gotcha.
aligned with within that particular theming. So the beauty about that, we have a 48-week curriculum. So each month is a chapter. So they'll go through the world of Footy Nippers, and then each week is an adventure aligned to that chapter for the month.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically with that, bro, there'll be retention. So why would we go to one session? Should be
Yeah,
about
yeah.
48 of them.
Yeah, how that?
So retention's the key. And then at the end of that, bro, there will be a reward, a badge that all the kids like their achievements.
And she's learning body control, coordination, all of those things as part of the story.
Yeah, balance, social.
Yeah. Yeah, cool.
Getting more enriched into the Māori culture. Yeah, I think that's very valuable as well, especially when we're doing this globally. But also as well, the biggest thing about Footy Nippers is that it's all about fun and engagement. So all the kids are doing it with their mum and dads, because
cool.
mum and dads are working from 9 to 5. They lose quality time.
Yeah.
So this way with Footy Nippers, it's not forced, but a lot of the parents are doing the sessions with the kids.
Yeah. Beautiful thing, man. Yeah, I think back
And
to
the most important thing on top of that, bro, is that all the kids are off devices, man.
Yeah, true.
Devices are.
True that, bro.
So that's one of the angles that we're trying to do as well. Too much devices, great anxiety and obesity. We know that obesity, bro, it's tripped since 1970. So that's for us it's a purpose.
Yeah, 100%. Goes a long way, man. I'm definitely keen. Like Maya would be perfect for that. And I think about our older one, Mila. She really wasn't too confident with her movement. She's 4 now, so she's still really young. But about a year or a year and a half ago, she was not the kind of kid to jump on a playground. She was very reluctant to do, balancing or anything like that. So we took her along to gymnastics. And I was that dad, like in the gymnastics class with the 3.5-year-old crying on the balancing beam, and I was the one like, nah, you're not getting off. I'll see you at the end. And I believed in what I was doing because I knew Mila, once she overcame her fears and got confident, she would be away. And it's proven to be true, man. Like since doing the gymnastics, she jumps on every playground. Dad, look at me, look what I can do. Now I'm trying to hold her back. Like, hey, be careful.
Yeah.
That confidence is just like growing massively. So
yeah, just gets unlocked, right?
It gets unlocked. Perfect. Yeah, perfect way to put it. So
and then they're out there just to express themselves. But that's amazing.
Yeah. Oh, very cool, man. Well, I'll keep an eye out for it in Auckland. And if there's any ex-athletes or anyone interested out there in Footy Nippers, they can just Google it, Footy Nippers or footynippers.com, something like that.
Bro, yeah, find us on footynippers.com, social media.
Brilliant. Brilliant, man.
Yeah,
Troy.
reach out. Don't ever be shy. And
yeah.
we have a good support crew at the HQ there. So it's all about the journey.
Yeah.
I think that we'll get on. Yeah, right.
Awesome, man. Bro, it's been great to kind of watch your journey from afar, and even better to chat to you today and learn a bit more about the nitty-gritty efforts it took to get all these businesses started, bro. And so now it's been inspirational, man, and appreciate your time.
Bro, just the time, brother. Awesome connecting with you, and bro, hopefully share some value out there too, mate.
Nah, for sure. Cheers, dude.
Cheers, fella.